The coffee was cold, but I kept drinking it anyway. 3 in the morning, sitting in my kitchen, staring at my wife's phone buzzing on the granite counter. Felicia had left it behind again, third time this month. Either she was getting careless or she wanted me to see something. My work husband and I cuddle sometimes, she'd said earlier, standing in our bedroom doorway like she was announcing the weather. It's platonic. If you don't get it, that's your issue, Alex. Platonic, right. And I'm the Pope. I'm Alex Mercer, 43 years old, cybersecurity analyst for a mid-sized firm in the Seattle suburbs. I debug networks for a living, which means I spot patterns other people miss. The pattern here was pretty obvious. My wife was sleeping with her colleague, Brad Halverson, and she thought I was too stupid to notice. The phone buzzed again. A text from Work Hubby appeared on the lock screen. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Your place or mine, tomorrow night. That would be Saturday, Felicia's birthday. The birthday I'd spent 2 weeks planning. Dinner reservations at Cascadia, the most exclusive restaurant in town. Spa appointment at the Fairmont. Weekend getaway to the coast. All booked, all paid for. All about to become very, very canceled. I picked up my laptop and got to work. By dawn, I'd methodically destroyed every plan I'd made for her special day. Restaurant reservation canceled. Reason given, no longer needed. Spa package refunded. Hotel booking terminated with a cancellation fee I'd gladly eat. The weekend trip to the coast? Gone, along with the non-refundable deposit. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Felicia stumbled into the kitchen around 8, already dressed for work in her power suit and that perfume that cost more than my monthly car payment. She grabbed her phone without looking at me. Morning, she mumbled, scrolling through messages. Morning, birthday girl, I said, sipping my fresh coffee. Big day planned? She glanced up suspicious. Felicia had good instincts, too bad she used them for the wrong things. What do you mean? Oh, nothing special, just thought you might want to check your calendar. Her fingers flew over the phone screen. I watched her face change as she discovered each canceled reservation. The restaurant first, her eyes narrowed. Then the spa, her mouth tightened. Finally, the hotel. Her face went white. Alex, what did you do? Me? Nothing. I just decided we should spend your birthday differently this year. More intimate. Just the two of us. No distractions from work, husbands, or anyone else. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You canceled everything? Everything? Well, not everything. I kept one reservation. Which one? I smiled. Your dinner tonight, at Denny's. Table for one. Felicia's face went through several colors before settling on rage red. You're insane. This is my birthday, Alex. My birthday. I know, and I'm sure Brad will console you about it. Maybe with some of that platonic cuddling you mentioned. She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the garage. I'm going to work. When I get home, you better have fixed this mess. Have a great day, honey. Tell Brad I said hi. The garage door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. I finished my coffee and checked the time. 9:15. Felicia would be at her advertising agency by now, probably calling every restaurant in the city trying to get a last-minute reservation for 12 people. Good luck with that on a Saturday in Seattle. My phone rang. Pete Morrison, my only real friend, calling from his bar downtown. Alex, you sound way too happy for this early on a Saturday. What did you do? Canceled my wife's birthday party. Jesus, why? Because she's sleeping with her work husband, and I'm tired of paying for the privilege of being humiliated. Pete was quiet for a moment. You sure about this? I've got text messages, Pete. She's not even trying to hide it anymore. What's your next move? I looked out the kitchen window at Mrs. Klein, my elderly neighbor, watering her garden. She waved at me through the glass. Mrs. Klein saw everything that happened on our street. Everything. I'm going to let her dig her own grave, I said, and then I'm going to bury her in it. By noon, Felicia had called me 17 times. I let every call go to voicemail. The messages started angry, progressed to desperate, and ended with threats. The final one was particularly creative. Alex, if you don't fix this right now, I'm moving in with Stacy until you come to your senses. Stacy Brennan, Felicia's best friend and partner in crime, human resources director at the same advertising agency, professional gossip, and the woman who'd been covering for Felicia's affair for months. Moving in with Stacy would actually make my life easier. Fewer lies to listen to at breakfast. I spent the afternoon in my garage workshop ostensibly organizing tools, but actually thinking. Felicia thought she was clever, but she'd made mistakes. Big ones. The kind of mistakes that happen when you're so convinced your husband is a pushover that you stop being careful. Mistake number 1, leaving her iPad synced to her phone. Every text message Brad sent her appeared on the tablet she kept on the kitchen counter. I'd been reading their conversations for weeks. Mistake number 2, using our joint credit card for her affair. Dinner at expensive restaurants on nights she claimed to be working late. Hotel charges during business trips that never appeared on her work calendar. Gas purchases near Brad's apartment complex when she was supposed to be at the office. Mistake number 3, underestimating me. Felicia saw a quiet cybersecurity analyst who worked from home and didn't make waves. She didn't see someone who understood networks, data patterns, and digital footprints better than most people understood their own names. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Alex. This is Nina, Stacy's friend. Felicia mentioned you might be free tonight since your dinner plans fell through. Want to grab a drink?" I stared at the message for a full minute. Nina, I'd heard Felicia mention her. Some woman Stacy knew from yoga class. Young, pretty, recently divorced. And now conveniently available to comfort the poor, neglected husband on his wife's birthday. This was getting interesting. I texted back, "Sure, where would you have in mind?" "How about Morrison's Bar on Pine Street? 8 o'clock? Pete's Bar, of course. They'd want familiar territory, somewhere they could control the situation. I texted my agreement and immediately called Pete. "They're sending a honey trap," I told him. "A what?" "A woman, tonight, to your bar. They want her to seduce me, probably get me to admit to hiding assets or planning to leave Felicia. Classic divorce strategy." Pete laughed. "You want me to throw her out?" "No. I want you to record everything, and I want you to make sure she knows you're recording." "Alex, that's legal. Your bar, your security cameras, and you post signs about surveillance. She'll be on camera the moment she walks in." "What are you planning?" I looked out the garage window. Mrs. Klein was still in her garden, but now she was pruning roses near the fence that separated our properties. The same fence where she'd seen Brad's BMW parked in my driveway 3 times last month while I was supposedly at work. The same fence where she'd watched him leave through my back gate thinking no one noticed. "I'm planning to give them exactly what they want," I said, "right up until the moment I don't." 8 o'clock arrived faster than expected. Nina was already at the bar when I walked in, sitting in a corner booth, nursing a martini. She was exactly what I'd expected. Late 20s, blonde, wearing a dress that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Professional grade bait. "Alex?" She stood up, extending a manicured hand. "I'm Nina. Thanks for meeting me." I shook her hand and sat down across from her. Pete caught my eye from behind the bar and tapped his phone, recording. I nodded slightly. "Rough day?" Nina asked, her voice dripping sympathy. "You could say that." "My wife canceled our marriage this morning. I just canceled her birthday in return." Nina's eyes widened. "She canceled your marriage?" "Not officially, but sleeping with her coworker sends a pretty clear message." "Oh my God, Alex, I'm so sorry. Stacy mentioned you two were having problems, but I had no idea." Of course Stacy had mentioned it. This whole thing was orchestrated. Nina leaned forward, her hand finding mine across the table. "You must be devastated." "Actually, I'm relieved. Do you know how exhausting it is to pretend you don't know your wife is cheating? To keep paying for dinners and trips and gifts while she's texting another man from the same bed you sleep in? That's horrible. You deserve so much better." "I think so too. That's why I've been moving our assets around. Protecting myself, you know?" Nina's grip on my hand tightened slightly. "Moving assets? Well, yeah, I'm not stupid. I've got offshore accounts, cryptocurrency, investments she doesn't know about. When this divorce hits, I want to make sure I'm not left with nothing." It was all lies, of course. I had a checking account, a savings account, and a 401k that Felicia already knew about. But Nina didn't know that. And more importantly, neither did whoever had sent her. "That's smart," Nina said. "Very smart. How much are we talking about?" And there it was, the real question. I pretended to consider whether I should answer. I probably shouldn't say, but let's just say it's enough to start over somewhere new. Maybe buy a place in the Caribbean, live off the interest. Nina's eyes lit up. That sounds amazing. You could really disappear, couldn't you? If I wanted to, but first, I need to deal with Felicia and her boyfriend. Make sure they understand what happens when you mess with the wrong person. What do you mean? I leaned closer, lowering my voice. Brad thinks he's safe because he works at the same company as my wife. He thinks I'm just some computer nerd who will roll over and take it. He's about to learn differently. Alex, you're not going to do anything dangerous, are you? Dangerous? No. Expensive for him? Absolutely. I spent the next hour feeding Nina carefully crafted lies about my fictional offshore millions and my plans for revenge against Brad. She hung on every word, occasionally excusing herself to the bathroom, probably to text updates to her handlers. Around 10 o'clock, I decided to end the charade. Nina, can I ask you something? Of course. How much is Felicia paying you for this? Her face went white. What? Come on. You're beautiful, you're charming, and you just happened to be free on the same night my wife's birthday party imploded. Plus, you've asked me about money 7 times in the last hour, so I'll ask again. How much? Nina stood up quickly, grabbing her purse. I don't know what you're talking about. Tell Felicia I said thanks for the entertainment, and tell her that her real birthday surprise is still coming. Nina practically ran out of the bar. I walked over to Pete, who was grinning behind the counter. Get all that? I asked. Every word. She was texting someone the whole time, too. Good. Send me the video file. I have a feeling I'm going to need it. Sunday morning brought rain and regret, though the regret wasn't mine. Felicia came home around 11, looking like she'd spent the night in her office clothes. Her makeup was smeared, her hair was a mess, and she had that particular shade of pale that comes from too much wine and not enough sleep. We need to talk, she said, standing in the kitchen doorway. Do we? Because yesterday you seemed pretty clear about your priorities. Alex, please, I know you're angry. Angry? I laughed. Felicia, I'm not angry. Angry is what you feel when someone cuts you off in traffic. This is something else entirely. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where she'd eaten breakfast while texting Brad for the past 6 months. Nina told me about last night. Did she? What did she tell you? That you're planning to leave. That you have money hidden away. I sipped my coffee and watched my wife's face. She was fishing, trying to figure out how much I actually knew and how much damage I could do. Nina's a lovely girl, very thorough. You should give her a raise. She's not... Please, don't insult my intelligence any more than you already have. I know you sent her. I know about Brad. I know about the hotels, the dinners, the weekend trips you've been planning with my money. I know everything, Felicia. Her composure cracked. If you know everything, then you know it's not what you think. Really? Then explain it to me. Brad and I, we're friends, close friends. Maybe we've gotten too close, but we haven't. Stop. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder where I'd been saving screenshots of her text messages. Would you like me to read some of these out loud? Because I've got some real gems here. My personal favorite is from last Tuesday. Can't wait to feel you inside me again. Alex is working late, so we have all night. Felicia's face went white. You've been reading my messages? Your messages? Felicia, these appeared on the iPad you left on our kitchen counter. The iPad connected to your iCloud account. I didn't hack anything. You handed me everything on a silver platter. She stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. This is insane. You're acting like some kind of stalker. I'm acting like a husband who's tired of being treated like an idiot. So what now? You're going to divorce me? Take your imaginary offshore millions and disappear? I smiled. Offshore millions? Is that what Nina told you I said? Didn't you? Felicia, I'm a cybersecurity analyst in Seattle. I make $85,000 a year. What offshore millions? The look on her face was worth every moment of the previous night's performance. She'd been so excited about the prospect of hidden assets, probably already planning how to claim half of money that didn't exist. But you told her. I told her a lot of things, most of them lies. Just like you've been telling me lies for months. My phone rang. Pete probably calling to check on me. But when I looked at the screen, it wasn't Pete's number. It was Stacy. Alex, thank God you answered. Is Felicia there? She's here. There's a problem, a big problem. Someone posted screenshots of text messages to the agency's internal Slack channel. Messages between Felicia and Brad. I looked at my wife, who was still standing by the window. What kind of messages? The kind that could get them both fired. Alex, this is bad, really bad. The whole company has seen them. How did they get posted? We don't know. It happened around midnight last night. Someone with access to the internal channel just dumped everything. Dozens of messages going back months. I hadn't posted anything to any Slack channel, but I had a pretty good idea who might have. Stacy, is Zoe working this weekend? Zoe, the junior account coordinator? I think so. Why? Zoe Martinez, 24 years old, fresh out of college, and the person who'd been handling the agency's social media accounts. She was also the person who'd been staying late every night for the past month, working on a campaign that Felicia and Brad had been taking credit for. If anyone had access to the internal systems and a reason to cause trouble, it would be her. No reason, just curious. Alex, we need to contain this. If this gets out beyond the agency, then you better hope Brad's resume is up to date. I hung up and looked at Felicia, who was staring at me with growing horror. What was that about? Your affair just went public. The entire agency has seen your text messages with Brad. She grabbed her phone and started frantically scrolling through messages. I could see her face getting paler with each notification. This is impossible. How did someone get our private messages? Same way I got them. You left your iPad connected to iCloud, and someone with access to the agency's network probably found a way to sync your messages. Basic cybersecurity, Felicia. The kind of thing you might understand if you'd ever listened when I talked about my job. Her phone started ringing. Brad's name appeared on the screen. Don't answer it, I said. I have to. No, you don't. You have to decide what you're going to do next, because this is just the beginning. The phone kept ringing. Felicia stared at it like it was a snake. What do you want from me, Alex? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to realize that the quiet husband you've been ignoring for the past year isn't as helpless as you thought. And I want you to know that everything that's happened so far, it's nothing compared to what's coming next. The phone finally stopped ringing. In the silence that followed, I could hear Mrs. Klein working in her garden, the sound of rain on the roof, and my wife's rapid breathing. You did this, Felicia whispered. You orchestrated all of this. I didn't post anything to any Slack channel. I didn't hack any systems. I didn't even cancel your birthday party out of spite. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the gray Seattle morning. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences of your own choices. What does that mean? It means that when you left your iPad open on our counter, I didn't close it. When you used our joint credit card for your affair, I didn't hide the statements. When you brought your boyfriend to our house while I was at work, I didn't stop Mrs. Klein from watching through her window. I just stepped aside and let you destroy yourself. Felicia sank into a chair, her phone buzzing with incoming messages. You're ruining my life. No, Felicia. I'm just refusing to help you ruin mine. Monday morning brought chaos. Felicia left early, probably hoping to get to the agency before the full scope of the weekend's damage became clear. She was fighting a losing battle, but I respected her optimism. I worked from home, as usual, monitoring network security for my client and watching the digital explosion unfold in real time. By 10 a.m., someone had leaked the Slack screenshots to a local gossip blog. By noon, they'd spread to social media. By evening, #Cuddlegate was trending locally. The power of social media in the hands of a wronged junior employee was truly something to behold. My phone rang around 3. Detective Sarah Mendez from the Seattle Police Department. Mr. Mercer, I'm calling about a complaint filed by your wife. She claims you've been stalking and maltreating her. That's interesting. What kind of maltreatment? According to the report, you've been reading her private messages, following her, and interfering with her work relationships. I laughed. Detective, I'm a cybersecurity professional. I understand digital privacy laws better than most lawyers. Would you like me to explain exactly which laws my wife thinks I've broken? She mentioned something about hacking her accounts. I'd be happy to show you every device in my house and explain exactly how I accessed information that was freely available on shared devices in my own home. I'd also be happy to provide you with copies of the credit card statements showing how my wife has been using our joint accounts to fund her extramarital affair. Detective Mendez was quiet for a moment. Mr. Mercer, I have to ask, have you made any threats toward your wife or her colleague? No threats, Detective. though I did cancel her birthday dinner reservations. Is that illegal now? And you haven't posted anything online about their relationship? I haven't posted anything anywhere, though I understand someone at their workplace has been sharing information. You might want to ask them about their internal security policies. Mr. Mercer, I'm going to give you some advice. Whatever you're planning, don't. Divorce is messy enough without criminal charges. Detective, I'm not planning anything criminal. I'm just a man who's tired of being lied to by his wife. After she hung up, I sat in my home office and considered my options. Felicia was getting desperate, which made her dangerous. Desperate people make stupid mistakes, but they also do unpredictable things. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at the parking garage on 4th Street. Level 3, 1 hour. Come alone, Brad. Finally, I'd been wondering when Brad would work up the courage for a direct confrontation. The man had been sleeping with my wife for months, but apparently he'd never found the time to actually meet her husband. I grabbed my keys and headed downtown. The parking garage was mostly empty at 4 on a Monday afternoon. I found Brad on level 3, leaning against his BMW, looking like he'd aged 5 years since the weekend. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair was disheveled, and he had the desperate look of a man watching his life fall apart in real time. Alex, he straightened up as I approached. Thanks for coming. Brad, you look terrible. Rough couple of days? Cut the crap. I know you're behind this. The canceled reservations, the leaked messages, all of it. Am I? That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof? I don't need proof, I know. I stopped about 10 feet away from him, close enough to talk, but far enough to react if he did something stupid. You know what, Brad? You're right. I am behind some of it. The birthday cancellations? That was me. The rest? That's just what happens when you're careless with other people's lives. This ends now. Does it? Because from where I'm standing, this is just getting started. Your career is over, Brad. Your reputation is destroyed. And all because you couldn't keep your hands off another man's wife. Brad took a step toward me. You don't know what you're dealing with. Actually, I do. I'm dealing with a middle-aged advertising executive who thinks he's intimidating because he drives a BMW and wears expensive suits. I'm dealing with a man who's so pathetic that he has to steal other people's wives because he can't find his own. Shut up. The truth hurts, doesn't it? You thought you were so clever, sneaking around behind my back. You thought I was just some computer nerd who'd never figure it out. But here's the thing about computer nerds, Brad. We're really good at finding information. Brad's face was getting red. I'm warning you. You're warning me? That's rich. You've been screwing my wife and my house, spending my money, and making plans for my future, and now you're warning me? Felicia loves me. Felicia loves herself. You're just convenient. Rich enough to pay for nice dinners, stupid enough to think she actually cares about you, and desperate enough to risk everything for a woman who'll throw you away the moment someone better comes along. Brad lunged at me. I'd been expecting it. Angry, desperate men are predictable. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him into the concrete wall behind me. He bounced off and stumbled, catching himself against his car. Feel better? I asked. He turned around, breathing hard, his expensive suit now decorated with concrete dust. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You're done, Brad. Felicia's done. Your little affair is done. The only question now is how much more damage you want to do to yourself before you accept reality. What do you want? I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to find a new job, preferably in a different city. And I want you to understand that if you ever come near my family again, what's happened so far will seem like a birthday party compared to what comes next. Brad stared at me for a long moment, then got in his BMW and drove away without another word. I watched his taillights disappear down the ramp and smiled. One down, one to go. The divorce papers were filed on Wednesday. By Friday, Felicia had moved in with Stacy, and Brad had been officially terminated from the advertising agency. The local gossip blogs had moved on to other scandals, but the damage was permanent. In a city like Seattle, reputation matters, and both of them had destroyed theirs beyond repair. I was sitting in Pete's bar Friday evening, celebrating my newfound freedom with a beer and the best onion rings in the city, when Felicia walked in. She looked around the dimly lit room until she spotted me, then walked over and sat down across from me without being invited. Hello, Alex. Felicia, you look nerd. She did. The past week had aged her visibly. Her perfect hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, her makeup was minimal, and she was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer armor. I came to apologize. Did you? That's unexpected. I know you'll never forgive me. I know our marriage is over, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry for all of it. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or deception. Surprisingly, she seemed sincere. What happened to Brad? He's moving to Portland. Got a job with a small firm down there. We're not together anymore. I'm shocked. You seem so happy. Don't be cruel, Alex. I know I deserve it, but please don't be cruel. Pete brought Felicia a glass of wine without being asked. She nodded her thanks and took a sip. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. How long have you known? About the affair, months. But I've known our marriage was over for longer than that. Why didn't you say anything sooner? I thought about that question. It was fair and it deserved an honest answer. Because I kept hoping you'd remember who we used to be. I kept thinking that if I just tried harder, if I was just a better husband, you'd stop looking for something else. Alex, but you know what I realized? I wasn't the problem. You were. You stopped being the woman I married and became someone I didn't recognize. Someone who could lie to my face every morning and sleep next to me every night while planning a future with another man. Felicia's eyes filled with tears. I never meant for it to go this far, but it did. And now we both have to live with the consequences. What happens now? Now? Now, you figure out how to rebuild your life. You find a new job, probably in a new city. You learn to live with the fact that everyone in Seattle knows what kind of person you really are. And maybe, if you're lucky, you become someone better than you were. What about you? Me? I'm going to finish this beer, go home to my empty house, and sleep better than I have in months. Tomorrow, I'm going to start looking for a new place to live. Somewhere with better security and neighbors who mind their own business. Felicia finished her wine and stood up. For what it's worth, Alex, you deserved better than what I gave you. Yes, I did, but you know what? I'm going to get better, starting now. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Alex, how did you know I'd come here tonight? I smiled. Because this is where you always came when you needed to think. Back when we were happy, remember? You said this place felt safe. It did, it still does. Then maybe you should remember that feeling. Maybe it'll help you figure out who you want to be next. Felicia nodded and walked out into the Seattle rain. I watched her go, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Pete walked over and refilled my beer. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. She seemed different. She's learning. It's expensive education, but sometimes that's the only kind that sticks. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Klein. Saw the moving truck at the Halverson house today. Good riddance. You're better off without all that drama, dear. I laughed and showed the message to Pete. Mrs. Klein has been keeping me informed about Brad's activities. Apparently, he moved out of his apartment this morning. Think he'll stay away? Oh, he'll stay away. Men like Brad are cowards. They only pick fights they think they can win, and he knows he can't win this one. And Felicia? I thought about my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, walking out into the rain. She'd made her choices, and now she was living with them. It wasn't my job to save her anymore. It wasn't my job to protect her from herself. Felicia will figure it out, or she won't. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. Pete raised his beer. To new beginnings. To consequences, I corrected, and to the people who finally stopped running from them. We clinked glasses and I settled back to enjoy my onion rings and my freedom. Outside, Seattle was doing what it did best, washing everything clean with rain, giving the city a chance to start fresh, just like me. 6 months later, I was living in a downtown condo with a view of Elliott Bay and security that would make Fort Knox jealous. Felicia had moved to San Francisco, where she'd found work with a small marketing firm that apparently didn't Google their employees. Brad had lasted 3 months in Portland before moving to Denver, where the advertising community was less familiar with Seattle gossip. I never saw either of them again. But every year on what would have been Felicia's birthday, I made dinner reservations at the most expensive restaurant in whatever city I was visiting, then canceled them at the last minute. Old habits die hard. And Mrs. Klein still sends me Christmas cards with updates about the neighborhood. Apparently, my old house sold to a lovely young couple who actually talk to each other. She approves. As for me, I learned that the best revenge isn't elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. It's simply refusing to be a sufferer and building a better life than the one someone tried to destroy. Sometimes the good guys do win. They just have to be smarter about it.